All right, so we are officially recording. We're on. All right. So to get it started, man, how how did this all come up? So where are you from? Where are you from? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? And what was kind of your childhood like growing up for you?
So I'm from East Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, but East Cleveland is like a little small suburb. It's like dilapidated now. It's kind of like it's fell apart. It's not falling. It's falling apart. So that's where I'm from. My childhood was it started off very good, and then it got very rocky and very dysfunctional and very broken. From the first grade on, I have two brothers and a sister. My parents were married for I don't know how long, but they got divorced in 1979. We lived in a nice little neighborhood, predominantly black, but we had about 4 or 5 white families in our neighborhood. But we didn't look at them as being white, we looked at them as being human beings. So I thank God I was raised that way. It is not a racist bone in my body. But anyway, my dysfunction and brokenness started in the first grade, where my two female cousins molested me. The morning I woke up, I was 5, 6, yeah. And so I was, you know how you lose a tooth at night and you wake up and the tooth fairy gives you money under your pillow. And so I woke up that morning, got my money, got my tooth, it was in my hand, my mouth was still bleeding a little bit. And I went to my cousin's bedroom. They were living with us at the time. They were visiting our house at the time. And I went in there and told them, hey, I got my tooth. I got my tooth. The tooth fairy gave me 50 cents. I want to go to Gus Candy Store when I come home from school. Gus Candy Store was one of our favorite stores. It was a candy store. And so they looked at me and was like, didn't say much. Then my one cousin grabbed me, threw me on the bed. My other cousin got on top of me, and that's when they started to molest me. And at that time, there wasn't any penetration, but they were kissing me. They put their tongues in my mouth. They sucked on my neck and my face and my forehead. And some kind of way I got out of the house. They were like 6 or 7 years older than I was. And so my school was maybe about 3/4 of a mile from our house. I get to school late, of course, and my teacher's like, Leon, where you been? And I'm like, I got into a fight because I knew there was something on my face, but I didn't see it because I could feel the after effects of them sucking on my face and things like that. So she's like, I said, I got into a fight. She knew better. So she hugged me, and as she hugged me, my mouth was on her skirt because I was small, and there was blood on her skirt because I had just lost a tooth. But they had kissed me so long and sucked my mouth so hard that it started my mouth to bleed again. I spit out blood on my way my whole time going to school, but I didn't pay any attention. But it was all over my mouth. And so that was the first incident, which was never reported because of my cousins. I was scared to tell on them. And to be honest, it was kind of, I kind of liked it. I was afraid, I was terrified, but it was like some passion in it for me. The reason why I saw the passion in it instead of the pain, because my household, great parents, very strong, very outgoing, very social, had a lot of parties, smoked a lot of cigarettes, drank a lot of liquor, and probably smoked some weed, but they fought a lot. And so I had a lot of fear in me because my parents fought a lot. I didn't look at it as if it was fear, but it was more passionate to me. That was the first incident. The second incident was I had a male member, my uncle of my family, used to always put his hands in my pants. And I talked about this in the book, but I didn't get too graphic because the publishing company said they're not going to publish it because it's so graphic. And I said, well, this is my story. So anyway, I did get it published. But anyway, he was probably maybe 10 years older than I was, but he used to put Vaseline on his hands and put his hands in my pants and rub my private parts. And I kind of like didn't know what to do because I was 7 or 8. I knew what to do as far as off, but I didn't know why he was doing that to me. I couldn't process gay or bisexual at the time. I had no idea, right? I was always interested in girls and still am women, and I'm still interested in women only, but I didn't know where, going from my cousins molesting me to my uncle now touching me and making me lay on top of him. I didn't even put that in the book because, again, they didn't want to publish it that way. But when I would fight him off, he would hurt me, and so it was never any penetration from me to him or him to me, but he always, right? And so I was a very confused little boy starting from the first grade on. And then after the incident with my uncle, I started having sex with my babysitter. So my babysitter, I was probably 7 or 8, and that's when I lost my virginity at 8 years old. And again, she provided comfort for me. So when I went through this, my book tour this summer, April to June, I did a lot of research. I learned a lot of statistics. And in those statistics, I learned that 90% of the perpetrators are somebody you know or trust. This is for sexual abuse, sexual assault rate. 90% of the abusers are someone you know or trust. 80% of those cases go unreported. And I'm going to tell you about that. 80% of the cases go unreported. Now, during my book tour, I had 33 interviews. And in those 33 interviews, I talked to a psychotherapist, a social worker, and a psychiatrist. They were interested in hearing my story. But they didn't know why 80% of the cases go unreported. Nobody knows. They just report it. Well, why are these cases going unreported? Here's a few reasons why they go unreported is because ashamed, feeling like the family won't believe you, right? Feeling like the family will turn against you. You may fear retaliation. But the main reason why 80% of the cases go unreported, Sam, is because the child starts to like what the perpetrator is doing to and for them. I'm not talking about people being raped. I'm talking about people being molested. I fit in all those categories. 90% of the perpetrator being someone that you know or trust. 80% of the cases going unreported. 1 in 3 little boys will be raped or abused by the age of 18, and 1 in 6 little girls. So I fit in all those categories. But the reason why we don't report it, this is the reason why I didn't report it, because the perpetrator gives you candy. They give you money. They give you toys. They hug you when you need comfort. And I needed all of that because, again, my parents were fighting. My parents were very violent towards each other. My mother was raped too. My mother was beat. And so the 80% is because we don't want those things to stop. I don't want her to stop coming to see me. I don't want her to stop giving me candy or food. I didn't want her to stop giving me money. And so I had sex with my babysitter for years. And she was just as broken as I was. But as a kid back then, I don't know anything about being broken. All I knew was, wow, this feels good. I'm having sex with my babysitter. She likes me, even though she may have. You know, some people are older and they like younger people, younger kids, pedophiles, men and women, little boys. And at that time, I began to like older women. And I liked older women like all my life because of what happened to me as a child. So it kind of developed me to who I have become for a long time. And so those were my years up until the 6th grade. All that happened from 1st grade to 6th grade, often and off and on. And so, you know, we lose our house. My parents get divorced. I tried to burn our house down twice because during the divorce process, I was like 9 or 10. I tried to burn the house down twice because I didn't want my father to. For one reason, I was upset. My parents were getting divorced. And then my father came home drunk one night and he, you know, was looking around, and I was always close to my father, close to both my parents, but you know, little boys and men are closer. And I remember him telling me, I'm gonna burn this house down. He didn't say it that way, he cursed. I'm gonna burn this house down. And so I was like, that gave me an idea, you know, I'm like, yeah, if my father wanna burn it down, then I wanna burn it down. I'm gonna burn it down. I'm not gonna get in trouble. Well, he wound up, you know, having to leave the house because of the divorce proceedings. And I did try to burn the house down twice with my family in there. And I was 9 or 10 years old. And so from the 1st grade to the 6th grade, I went through being molested, being fondled, being raped, wanting to burn the house down. And I had 2 bouts of suicide twice during my elementary school years. You know, so I went through a lot at such an early age. I went through a lot in a like a fast way, but I didn't know how to control it. And so my only form of control was to act like I didn't do it, or act like it didn't happen. But acting like it didn't happen, it kept happening. And then with the fact that it kept happening, I liked it more and more and more and more. And so I went from being molested to being raped to having sex, you know, lose my virginity at 8 years old, to then I became addicted to porn, 8 or 9 years old. And so a family member, and I put this in the book, but I didn't say who it was, but a family member started me to watching porn. He may have been just as broken as I was because my parents were going through a divorce, and because we were losing our house, because we didn't have utilities, you know, we didn't have lights, water, gas, phone, electricity for months on end. And so my thing was, the only way for me to make it through this is to start to like my addictions. My addictions were older women. A little boy, my addictions became porn. So that's me in a nutshell as a child. But I never got help or anything. I didn't get help for all my addictions and everything that happened to me as a child until I was 50 years old.
And there's not a lot of outlets for that, to be honest with you. Like my dad too, he always talks about that, the same stuff. Like, and I mean, not the severity, but like to be open and expressing yourself, it does a lot for you. And when you can't do that, it actually spirals out of control. And I mean, you touched on a lot of things too that I always talk about. And, you know, one, you know, just being the fact that you need to be able to identify these little triggers and not suppress them to where you're like trying to forget them. And you need to actually, you know, face these things and really address like the bigger thing that's going on. But it's so hard. Like, you were so young, you don't have those abstract thoughts already. Like, you're not programmed to think that way yet. So it's like to face like all these high level challenging situations and having to like be able to force all these abstract things into something that's not ready to comprehend it. It's like trying to comprehend a 4-dimensional universe or something. Like, you can't do it. Like, and so like all the things come to light later on, and then it's already too late. And then you're having to like make up for all this lost time, and it's frustrating,
Right.
you know, and it's like, oh my goodness gracious. And dude, I commend you for being able to overcome that the way that you have, and being able to express it in a way that's allowing other people to gain some of their own solitude from it, so that they're not, you know, because like my parents went through a divorce too, and I went through those modes where I was always craving like acceptance, and because they were fighting all the time, I was craving acceptance just from females and from and just the love and like the attention and the like all that stuff, and then that becomes addicting, and so you'll just kind of like get it and then kind of be done with it, and then get it again, and then be done, and then get it again, and it's just like a temporary high, you know. And it's not that different. Yeah, it's like not that different from just shooting up heroin or doing something like. It's the same thing. You're getting the same chemical, you know, things going on in there, and it's like you just get addicted to that, and you get that rush, you know.
I tell people that. I said, stop, you know, and I just did an ebook on keeping your kids safe from porn. It'll come out on the 15th of this month.
I saw that.
Yeah, I tell people.
By the way, what is your YouTube? Just real quick, so that way everybody has it.
Leon R. Walker, and I'm working on my new page, my new YouTube page for a new banner and clip art or art clip art, whatever they call it. So
yeah,
I'm working on that too. So it'll be a different page when they probably within the next couple of weeks. But I'm working on all that now. But I tell people, Sam, and it's very important. It's crazy that you said that. That I said, look, sex is just as dangerous and addicting as drugs, if not even more, because some people say, you know, they get drugs, they get heroin, whether it's crack or opiates or whatever, and they're like, cool. But at the same time, if they don't have the money for those drugs, they'll have sex to get the drugs. They're both like interchangeable. I said that they work together. If you don't have the drugs, you have sex to get the drugs. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to have sex, or if you don't have the money, you're gonna have sex to get the drugs again. So it's like they work together. They go hand in hand. I tell people that you may not think that it's as powerful, that sex is as powerful as drugs, but it is, because it's all about the way you procure your drugs. Either you have money, you get it, or if you don't have money, you're gonna sell your body to the drug dealer or whomever. You know, so you might have a person that doesn't want to do drugs, but they want to have sex. So you want to do drugs and you want to have sex. You're gonna meet that person and say, okay, well, I don't have any money, I don't have no drugs. You want to have sex? I got the sex that you want. You got the drugs that I want, or you got the money that I want to get, that I need to get the drugs. So let's have sex without even any emotion, none at all. And I tell people that's why sex is more powerful than drugs, because, you know, even if you have a junkie, somebody that's shooting up, even if they're not turned on, if they're not aroused, they want that drug, they're gonna do whatever they got to do to get it. And I'm talking about when it's related to sex. My first time having a prostitute, I was 15 years old. So it wasn't even, at that time, it was about the sex, but it was about the drive and the intensity, the level of, hey, I'm 15, I stole my father's car, I'm driving downtown Cleveland, I'm gonna search for this prostitute. And I did that probably 15 to probably 17 years old and never got caught, never got stopped. Yeah, and so I had a job, whereas I worked, but I didn't work for the money. I did, but I worked to get clothes, but also worked to pay for my prostitute. I didn't have to ask anybody for anything. So like you said, those things that happened to you as a child, and you chasing that high, you chasing that love, you chasing that affection, you chasing that hug, you know, you do whatever you can to get it, you know, and I did that. And at the same time, like you say, it's in, I'm out, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. I want to like you, I like you right now, but I'm out, because that, in that instance, it's like I'm getting close to a woman, but at the same time, I don't want to get too close because I was abandoned by my mother.
Yeah.
And we lost our house when I was 11. My mother sent me to live with a lady, sent my sister to live with another lady. My mother, brother lived in a hotel. And then we got back together a year later in a one bedroom, and I was sleeping on the floor. I had slept on the floor for years, and I'll talk to you about that too. But and what started growing inside of me because of that was the fear of abandonment. So like you said, I'm in this relationship, I'm with her, I'm out. I'm, you know, up and down, in and out. Okay, you've hugged me enough, you kissed me enough, I'm good, I'm gone. I'm starting to like you too much, and I don't want you to leave me, because if I've always felt if my mother can leave me, any woman will leave me. So I always told myself I'll never love another woman in my life. And so it was all deeply rooted in my childhood.
Yeah, and it's all about what we tell ourselves too. It's like that overall voice that we keep strengthening, and some people just strengthen the wrong negative voice, and it keeps like telling you the wrong things. You're putting wrong negative stories. And I think, you know, kind of going back to what you just said, like I think people, because myself included, I used to do it a lot too with, you know, just drugs and sex as well. And, you know, I would just chase after that instead of embracing what life was giving me. And so it wasn't allowing me to, like, I was focusing on stupid shit. Like I was focusing on, you know, sex, porn, drugs, this, instead of goals, instead of real tangible things that can actually make me better and make me feel better, that can actually strengthen the right voices in my head, so I can start to build myself up instead of tearing myself down, thinking all these negative things. And that's when I started to learn about like growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and kind of like realizing that it literally is a switch that you have to practice. Like it's something that you have to actually actively know in your head and say, okay, am I viewing this as something that's like terrible and I'm seeing all the negatives, or can I see something that could potentially happen that's greater? And it's like if you get sucked into these negative habit loops and these negative trigger loops and all this stuff, it's just like you start to justify it after a while, and you start to just plunge yourself down
deeply into it. And then once you start to justify it, you don't think there's anything wrong with it. So I justified my porn. I justified my cheating. I justified being promiscuous, right?
I earned that. I earned that.
That's my trophy, you know? And so, like you said, in your mind, there is a switch where you have to click it on and click it off if you want to, but you have to be ready. That's when I talk to people about, I did drug counseling and alcohol counseling and sex counseling. And these people are like, well, Leon, my daughter this and my son this. I'm like, you can't. The more you try to force your son or daughter to quit something, the more they're going to do it. Because now, not only are you telling them things that they already know they don't want to hear, but now you force them to go smoke or drink or pop that pill because now you done pissed them off.
It's out of rebellion, yeah.
Yeah, it's like rebellion, and now it's justified. See, this is why I get high, because you stay on my back, you keep talking to me, you keep yelling and screaming. This is why I smoke. This is why I watch porn. But you make them justify. So I know how to talk to kids and pull them away from that, because I was that same kid. And a lot of adults, we're that same child that we're talking to, but we have a tendency to forget, because now we're in a parenting role, and we think that parenting means we're supposed to talk to them a certain way to get them to stop. Yeah, in a certain way, but you don't talk at them, you don't talk down to them. And I had to learn this the hard way. But being a teacher for 2 years, from 2016 to 2018, helped me understand these kids more, because I didn't lose contact with them, but being in the Navy for 32 years, everybody is the autopilot. Most people, 90% of people are like, go getters, right? Autopilot. They know what to expect. You know what to expect for them. They know what to do. But these kids out here that never been in a structured environment, or were in a structured environment, didn't pull it out like me, they're lost. And so I had to go back, and being a teacher really helped me refocus on how to talk to these kids and how to treat them. knowing that they're not military kids, knowing that they don't have really many expectations. So I say, let me sit back and talk to these kids. Let me tell them one of my stories. I got like a million stories. And they go, wow, you did that? That happened to you? Wow, how did you get through? And so I'm telling them these stories and they're listening. They are captivated. I'm not saying I'm a great storyteller. I'm not saying I'm a great orator or whatever, but I tell real stories, real life stories, just like, you know, the ID channel and A&E and things like that. It draws people in. So my way of teaching to get these kids to listen to my topic, whether it was talk about firefighting or leadership or shipbuilding, I said, listen, I tell y'all one story in the beginning of the class and another story at the end, but you got to give me 40 minutes of your undivided attention. And they locked in just like that. And not only did, you know, when I tell them my story, I give them lessons in how to get out of or having low self-esteem or no confidence. So it all works. You got to understand these kids. They are different. They are just like we were different before our parents or after our parents. These kids are different too.
Yeah, and you got to adjust. You got to adjust to the way that the new kids are learning and the way that they interpret information, because it's a lot different now. A lot different the way we interpret information and the way that we learn and the way that we teach, or the way that we should teach, because people are digesting things at such a rapid rate now. So it's like it's got to be filtered out, and it's got to be in a certain way to where they can interpret it and be able to filter it out themselves. Because I don't think people, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, people are so quick to just drive things into kids without teaching them how to interpret things and filter it the right ways, and how to apply things and how to, you know, do that. Because I know that like one thing that was probably challenging for me with my daughter is she has autism. So one of the major things that we had to learn, my wife and I, was how to accommodate for the way that she learns. And it's crazy how different you have to approach these situations, and everybody's different. And so like, not everybody has, you know, autism, but like, you have to approach it in that type of way. Like, everybody's unique. Everybody thinks of things in a different way. So if you can at least touch somebody emotionally, give them something tangible, and then have them apply it to their everyday life and show them, hey, look, this is, then they can start to see it for themselves, hands-on, like, this is exactly how it's working. Because one of the main things too and it's funny, because the techs that deal with autistic kids, they deal with behavior. And so what's this thing? Sorry, did it cut off? Sorry, can you hear me still?
Okay. You started behavior.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so they really just focus on behavior in general. And a lot of the things that they teach the kids really apply to a lot of the adults. It's a lot routine, structure, you know.
Hit it on the head.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so it's crazy how much we can actually learn from teaching the kids the right way, like even just ourselves.
A lot of the first thing we have to understand is that we as adults were once that little kid. A lot of us forget, like, hey, I'm 30, I'm 40, you know, and I had the same issue. I had the same problem. I made the same mistakes, but I was like, whoa, hold on, let me pull back here, because you hit it on the head. As adults, we were that once that child, but we have to understand it. Those children don't learn like we learn. We don't learn like they learn. So you say, you talk about the tangibles. We have to, you know, understand how they learn, you know, whether they're slow or fast, what they want to learn, what they like, what they dislike. Because a lot of times what they dislike is what we like, and we hammer it into them because it's the way it's supposed to be. And then you lose them. They shut down. And I've seen that happen over and over again. And adults are like, well, how did you get through to them? I'm like, first of all, I listen to them. I let them talk. I let them vent. They have a lot of pent up emotion that they want to get out. And the more you make them suppress it by yelling at them or not listening to them or trying to impose your ways on them, the less you're going to be able to reach them. And a lot of these young teachers coming out of college are having that problem because they are in their 20s and they really forgot where they came from, or they had a really, really good upbringing, and now they're in a school system that is totally different from the way they were raised, you know, so they can't relate. And now it's like, oh, how do I do this? I need help. Somebody help me out. I got to get these kids running me over. And those kids will run you the heck over in that classroom or in life if you cannot relate to them. That's their way of venting or showing you that, you know what, you don't care about me, I don't care about you. I don't have to care about you. And nowadays we have to care about these kids, You have to watch what you say to them, or else you get in trouble and lose your job. It's not like we have to submit to them, but we have to understand how they learn, how they operate, you know? And you hit it right on the head, those tangibles. You got to sit there and understand your own child and other people's children too.
Yeah. And I remember, you know, some of the most memorable teachers that I had, you know, Miss Rivera, Miss Cooper, they were all teachers that literally took the time to accommodate and be like, hey, like, I understand you learn differently. And they even like would even pull you to the side. They were the type of people to pull you to the side and be like, look, I know you learn differently, so just interpret it how you do, but I got to teach it this way or whatever. And I just want to make sure you understand, or this and that. And like always we're pulling people aside to like help out. And it's like, those are the teachers that actually you remember. Those are the things that you remember because you actually care now. You're like, well, I care about this person. Now I care about what they have to say because I respect the fact that they're actually trying to relate to me, as opposed to trying to just drill me with all this robotic work that all these other teachers are throwing at me. So that's absolutely true with what you said there. And I want to talk. So I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about your whole military career. How did going from everything you had been through, when did the military become a thought for you?
So that's a good question. That's one of my favorite questions too that I get asked. During my interviews, not many people ask that question, but I like it. So what happened was,
and thank you for your service as well, man.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy serving. So what happened to me, Sam, was that I felt like I was slow. I felt like I was stupid, dumb. I always felt like that, you know. And I'm like, because I couldn't concentrate in school. I was talking, and I'm talking in the first grade, second grade. I always thought about porn. I thought about women. I envisioned older women. Quick story: my brother had drilled a hole in my mother's bedroom, because my mother's bedroom was adjacent to the bathroom, right at the toilet level. So we would be like 5 feet over here. And when my mother and father had parties every Friday, we would wait for the women to come upstairs to use the bathroom. And they getting undressed, taking their pants on, and all I saw was, you know, the older woman's body parts for years. And now here I am. I got to get up and go to school Monday, but I'm thinking about Miss Johnson or Miss Larry or Miss Smith or Miss White, my mother's friend that came over, and I'm seeing their body parts. So I couldn't concentrate in school. So my learning took a hit because I wasn't focused. If I'm in school, I'm seeing little girls or seeing older teachers, which appealed to me more than anybody were the older female teachers. So I couldn't concentrate. I had a natural ability to spell, right? I could spell really good. I was born with that. And so the other things, reading was okay, math was okay. But I gave school probably 30% of my entire life. So anyway, knowing that, I said, you know what, my father was in the Army, my uncles were in the Army, my cousin was in the Army, my brother was in the Marines. So I would always see these artifacts around the house about the Army, you know, helmets and rifles and pictures and badges and patches and ribbons. And that stuff appealed to me. And I started watching, you know, aside from watching boxing, which I also ultimately became a boxer too, but aside from watching that, I watched war movies. And as a kid, I watched the guys shooting and hunting down the bad guy and being in the foxholes and, you know, jumping out of planes and swimming. And that appealed to me more than anything. Both of my parents dropped out in 10th grade, so they never talked about education in our house. So for me, it was either like, I'll get into porn, you know, I'll be a pimp, or I'll join the military. Those are my choices. Mm-hmm. Or I'll be a veterinarian, because I love animals too. Mm. I did. We had gerbils, we had frogs, we had dogs, we had cats, we had hamsters.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we had all of that. And I was really well-versed in taking care of animals, feeding them and cleaning them. But anyway, to answer this question, I knew it was either I was going to delve into porn deeply, I was going to be in the military, or I was going to box or fight or do something. And so I fell in love with the military. I fell in love with setting up little camps with little Army men and having my own little wars in the basement with my friends. And we set up little camps outside and fight, you know, climbing trees and all that. So I was stuck on the military at 8, 9 years old. And so I said, you know what, if I'm going to go to the military, I need to get myself ready now. So from 9 to 18, from 9 to 17, I joined at 17. I started working. I started doing push-ups, sit-ups. I started running. As I got older, I started lifting weights. You know, I was playing football and wrestling and all that stuff. but it was all to get me into the military. But I had a problem passing the test. So I finally made my mind up. It's like, you know what, I want to go to Marines. My brother went to Marines, and he sent a picture home one day, and he looked so good in his uniform. I was like, that's what I want. He had that square jaw. You know, he just looked macho, man. And then my cousin that was in the Army, every time he'd come home, my mother would light up, and she would hug him, and the people in the neighborhood would hug him and shake his hand, and people want to give him money. He was giving women money. He looked good. He had a fresh haircut, had his nice uniform on. He smelled good. I was like, I said, I'm done. I'm going to the military. I just didn't know which branch because I was torn. Because my family lineage was the Army and the Marines. Nobody in my family was in the Navy. So anyway, I decided to, I took the test. Make a long story shorter, I took the test 5 times, and I failed it 4 times. So when you take the military exam, the minimum you need is a 31. The max you can score is a 99. First time I got it, I snuck into the exam. The first 2 times I snuck into the exam because you have to be 16 to take it when they administer it in high school. But I knew I was going to military, so I'm in the 9th grade, like, you know, I got 3 years and I got to, you know, get out of here. You know, I'm ready to go. And so I snuck in there, took the test, and they got the results back. I got a 6. The next year I snuck in there and took the test. I got 11. The next year I snuck in and took the test. I got 19. So I got progressively better each year, but it wasn't enough because I couldn't get that close to a 31. And so I took it 2 more times, and the 4th time I got a 30. And that's the time I got a 30 is the first time I really studied. So that broke my mind open. It's like, you know what? For all these years, I thought I was stupid. I thought I was dumb and slow. But what I found out, Sam, was that I just was not applying myself. So when I found out that I want to go, when you want something in life, you put a lot of energy into it. You put a lot of effort into it. And that's when things start to change for me. So I started studying. But the first 3 times I took the test, I never studied. And I'm like, man, I must be stupid. But I said, you know what, dude, if you study, let's see how well you do. So I studied, and I scored 19 points higher from the 2nd test. And then I got a 30 on the 4th test. I'm sorry, I scored 19 points higher from the 3rd test. So my 4th test, I got a 30. Tutor was like, they came to administer the exam that day, and he saw that I had a 30. He said, man, what you going to do? I said, look, I want to go to the military. I got to get out of here. My father's on my butt. You know, my mother's in the street. I don't know where my mother is. I'm hungry. You know, I can work. I'm good, but I'm ready to do something. I didn't take the SAT. I wasn't going to college. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted money, man. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to experience those exotic women overseas, and that's what I did. So he said, if you fail this test again, bro, you got to stay in Cleveland for a whole year. And I'm like, I can't do that, bro. I said, if I fail, he said, all I'm going to be doing is selling weed or going back into prostitution.
Yeah.
So my back was up against the wall, bro. And I'm like, you know what? Nah. And so I studied. I wrote everything down. I didn't score that much higher, but I did study harder for hours and hours and hours. And then I got a 31. When I finally took the test for the 5th time, I got a 31. And then that's when I joined the military. But I always knew that I would join the military at 8 or 9 years old.
The intention was always there.
I was always there, man, because I said, you know what? Like I said, either I'm gonna get into porn, I'll be in the military, or I'll be a hustler or a pimp or something. I didn't want those, you know. So the military was my best course of action, and it was something I really fell in love with as a young child. And so I joined in 1983 with the minimum score of 31. So that's why I tell people, you don't have to be smart to be successful. You don't. You just have to be driven. You have to be passionate. You have to want something out of life. And so with that 31, I was terrified when I went into the military, bro, you know? And so my uncle wanted me to go to the Army because he said there's more blacks in the Army that look out for you. And so I'm like, nah, I want to try something different. So I went to talk to the Navy recruiter, and that's how I got in.
Okay. So it was like more of a, I just want to kind of do something different with the branch wise.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so it was a little more than that. The Marine recruiter, I went to see him first, and he kind of told me, like, you got to come back. I'm about to eat lunch. And I was hurt because, the Marine was the first branch I wanted to go into, and my brother was Marine. So I left his office crying. My head was down. And the Army guy was like, hey, man, come here. And let me talk to you. So in that recruiting office, and it's still there in Cleveland. It's not a recruiting office anymore. But they had the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, and the Navy in there. And so the Air Force guy cut me off. The Army guy, he just looked kind of like old and worn down. And I was like, nah.
I don't want that to be me.
Nah, right? And as I started to leave the building, the Navy guy was like, hey, come here, man. Come here. Let me talk to you. So he really touched my nerves. He didn't realize it, but he showed me a lot of pictures of travel and women, and he sold me. I was done there. I didn't care about the money for college. I didn't care about education. I just wanted to travel and see and sleep with exotic women. And so we were talking, and so I looked at this picture on the wall in the military office, the recruiting office, and ultimately I became a recruiter years later. But in the office, there was this poster about the ranks from E1 to E9. And I looked all the way up to the top. I was like, hey, man, how do I get to the top in the Navy? He's like, bro, you ain't going to get to the top. You're black. They don't have any black master chiefs, not many in the Navy. You'll never make it. At most, you might make E6. And I was like, so I knew then, I said, whenever somebody tells me that I can't do something, I get this burning desire in my body. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Even though I don't know you you my recruiter, you'll get me in. I'm going to show you and I'm going to show everybody. But he lit a fire into me because he was serious, and it hurt my feelings. He said, you're not going to go far in the Navy. You might, as a black man, you might get to E6. And so for 12 years, actually 16 years, that's as far as I got. But I always remembered what he told me. Not many black master chiefs in the Navy. So I ultimately became a master chief because I always remember what he said. I did get to E6 in 7 years, and I stayed at E6 for another 9 years because I got lazy. I became complacent. But one day I had this conversation with this white guy, and he said, Walker, you're blowing it, man. You got all the potential in the world, but you want to chase women, you want to drink. And he put me on my butt when he told me that. And then I took off. And so I took off and then ultimately became Master Chief in the Navy, where only 1% of the people that join the Navy make Master Chief.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to another level. I became a Command Master Chief, where it's only like less than 1% of the people that join the Navy become a Command Master Chief. A Command Master Chief is the overall leader of all the enlisted people. So my first Command Master Chief tour was, I had 300 people. And then I had my second Command Master Chief tour, I had 10,300. And then my third Command Master Chief tour, I had 42,000. Of course, I had a captain and an XO with me. It's 3 people in the leadership world in the Navy. You have the captain, the XO, and the Command Master Chief. So, yeah, I ultimately went that high, based on what he's telling me that I could not do. And I looked at that picture, and I saw this. It just looked so majestic, the Master Chief ranking at the top. And I've always wanted to be in the top 1% of the top 1% in everything I did, you know. But I kind of played with my potential. I knew I had it. I knew I had the work ethic from my mother. But I didn't use it as often as I should have. And so I started, like I said, that one conversation with the guy told me, he said, man, you blowing it. We just passing you up, Walker. You just sitting on your butt. You're not doing this. You lazy. I'm like, and that was it. And he and I are still friends to this day. He wound up being very successful. He retired. And so I did 32 years, and I went as high as you can go. Even though with that minimum score that I had, I was able to go as high as you can go. That's what I tell people. It's not about your scores. With me, it's about your work ethic.
Ooh, man, sorry for yawning. Jesus. No, but that's insane to me, man. Like and it is about your work ethic, and it's not about like, and so many people get so confused on that because they see somebody and this person's like really successful, blah blah blah, and then they think that they can just skip to that level without putting in the proper steps necessary. You know what I mean? Like that's such a long career, and I respect and commend your service and your work ethic to do that, because I can't even, that's insane to me that you were able to do that with a minimum score and be able to literally pull yourself all the way up. And people do all the time hit those plateaus where they stop and they get complacent because they're used to things and they get comfortable and they don't continue to push themselves. And it just goes to show too, what everybody always talks about with success and stuff. And, you know, it's just, you have to continue to grow. Even when you think you've learned it all, you have all the answers, you have to continue to be a student, because it's the students of life that are the ones who are always driven to find the answers to what they're passionate about, or find a way to do the thing that everybody says is impossible, because they get that burning desire to be that difference, or be the one to at least show the perspective and put that out there for one other person or something, and be the inspiration and be the example in some type of way. You know, you might not be an example to everybody, but you'll be an example to that one person who resonates with your story, who is in the same position, who was you one day. And now, because of everything that you've done, you give somebody kind of permission without necessarily having to give it to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you give it up. And another thing, Sam, every job in the military that I've done, there's various jobs. You can be a drill sergeant. I did that. You can be an instructor. I did that. You can be a recruiter. I did that. You have to have these certain line scores, right? So the fact that my line scores are all low, so they say, for instance, I wanted to be a recruiter, and I was an E6, and I told my chief, I said, hey, I want to be a recruiter. He said, well, you got the work ethic, Leon, but you don't have the scores. And I'm like, these scores stay with me. They still with me. My scores, I've always been a slow learner, but I'm like, if you let me in that door, it's over. And that was a proven point for me. So he said, well, let's look at your scores. So it's a thing called WK, which is word knowledge, and VE, verbal, based on the ASVAB. Combined, those scores have to be 105. Mine's are always like 80, which is low. And I'm like, you need 25, 30 points, man, if you want to be a recruiter. He said, let's see if we can get you a score waiver. I said, Chief, as long as you get me those orders, you get me that job to be a recruiter, I'm going to succeed. Just get me in there. So every job I wanted in the military, I had to have a score waiver. But the first time they gave me that score waiver, I said, every time I want to do another job, I'm going to have to get a score waiver. But as long as I get into this job and succeed, they'll give me the score waiver. And so he said, I'm going to give you this. My captain said, I'm going to give you the score waiver, but you better not go to Cleveland and jack it up, Walker. You understand me? And I said, yes, sir. So they did the score waiver. They sent it off to Washington, D.C., or I think it was D.C., came back, approved. You can be a recruiter in Cleveland. Although I screwed up in Cleveland, that's where I'm from, I was still very successful in Cleveland. I went there with the low test scores, but I was able to recruit, and I became recruiter of the year. Then I said, you know what? Yeah, I was number 1 out of 144. And so I always say, you guys can tell me I need a score waiver, that's fine, but you can't stop my work ethic. You can't judge me on my work ethic. You can't put a price on my work ethic. I didn't have to tell them this, but I knew. I said, as long as you get me in that door, I'm going to be successful. And so then I wanted to be a drill sergeant. Walker, you need a score waiver. Come on, let's go. They do the score waiver, boom, send it off to DC, comes back, approved. Same thing. I'm gonna let you be a drill sergeant. You just better not screw this up. I go there. I was very successful. I did the same thing to be a Navy instructor, teacher. I taught navigation for 3 years. Walker, you need score waiver. You go there, boom. I go there, boom. I'm successful. So I was Sailor of the Year 7 times. I was Recruiter of the Year 1 time. I was Sailor of the Quarter probably 6 or 7 times. And everywhere I went, I was always number 1. I was always number 1, 2, or 3. And I pride myself on that because I could have given up. I could have curled up in the ball. I could have fallen off because for a time, Sam, I thought I was dumb, but I wasn't. I just wasn't applying myself.
Yeah, and that's a lot of us. A lot of people think that they're dumb, and a lot of people think that they're unworthy, and a lot of people think that they can't do it when realistically they just haven't given it a real try. Real attempt. And of course you're gonna fail. I mean, you didn't walk the first time. You know what I mean? And nor did you give up. And you're walking around right now. And that's not something that you thought maybe you could do when you were falling a bunch. You know what I mean? And so you just got to keep going, and you got to keep practicing actively. You can't stop learning, and you can't stop trying things. And I always talk about finding your own system, finding what works for you. And it takes a lot of trial and error. You got to put different things out into the world and see what's getting you what different results. If something's, making you feel like crap and something is hindering your growth, I mean, identify it and change that habit, and make that something more productive, or eliminate it altogether, and just audit what you're doing. I always do like a time audit, and I always kind of do what influences I'm intaking, because for a while I was intaking nothing but negative as well. And so when you have that imbalance, it just allows you to do negative things. When you have a positive balance, it just allows you to do more positive things. And so I completely I agree with what you're saying. And I think that it's something that we all need to learn to do, is just sort of just start with doing. Like, just don't be afraid to act. You know what I mean?
Don't be afraid. I tell people, Sam, I never wanted to be an author, and I know we'll get to that, but somebody said.
Yeah, actually, we'll talk about that right after this. So.
Okay. Somebody said some words to me, and I learned that I've always known that words are very powerful. They can make a person go up or down. And I had that experience too, not with just me, but what I did and said to other people. But a guy said to me, why don't you just write a book? 7 words. Why don't you just write a book? And this was in 2016. And I was like thinking, you got low scores. You did this, you did that. You're a drill sergeant, you're a recruiter, you're a teacher. Try writing a book, bro. I'm talking to myself. He didn't know that when he said that, and it just started to grow. So we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Because yeah, I understand how you get that, just that, you know what, I'm gonna write a book, and then you get like inspired, and then it just all kind of comes out. So it's called Broken, right?
Yeah.
And give us kind of the synopsis about what it is covering, because I know it's about, I don't know if it's like a biography on you or what. So we'll go over like kind of the synopsis about what it is, and then talk about kind of like what led you to write it and how you wrote it.
Okay, so my book is about, this is my first book. It's about my childhood. Just about everything you and I talked about when we started talking. All about my childhood, my dysfunctions. And I did that on purpose because some people write a book and they just get right into it, you know, or some people write a book and they keep the childhood. I was like, well, what about your childhood? So I want to see I want people to see my transition through life.
Yeah.
Up until now, even as after 4 years after the military. So my first book is called Broken, and it's about a broken, dysfunctional little boy that had major addictions, setbacks, downfalls, and egregious ways. Now, what happened was June 6, 2016, I tell people if I didn't have a beard, I wouldn't have a book. And they're like, what are you talking about? So I went to the barbershop, June 6, 2016, and I'm sitting there, and the guy's just like cutting in. And he's just like, kind of like going off, talking, you know, the barbershop talk. Man, I need somebody to help me with these kids. I'm trying to get kids off the street. I'm trying to get people jobs. People are coming out of jail. They lost, they're homeless. I'm trying to start this new program called Legacy Reentry. So the barbershop owner was like, well, why don't you talk to the guy in your chair? At this time, I had been retired for 1 year. And he stopped. He's like, who are you? And I said, I'm Leon, man. He said, what did you do? I said, I served 32 years. He said, you know how to talk to people? Can you motivate people? I'm like, yeah. So he said, well, I want you to come to my church tonight. And I said, well, I'll be honest with you, bro. I believe in God, but I just don't go to church. It's just, I have my own relationship with God. He said, well, just come to my office. I want to interview you. I said, all right, you sure? He said, yeah. I said, okay. So I went home and got changed, went to his office. We sat down talking. And he was like, all right, sit down, have a seat. We drank coffee and stuff. We talking. And he said, do you mind if I record you? I'm like, I don't mind. So Sam, he started recording me, and I started talking like me and you talking now. Mm-hmm. And I had just got up to the 3rd grade. I started off with my cousins molesting me and my babysitter and my uncle. And then he's like, hold on, bro. Hold on, man. Bro, I don't know if I can handle this, man. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. He said, man, you got a lot of content. I'm like, so at this time, Sam, I wasn't even thinking about like Facebook. I wasn't doing any of that, bro. Mm-hmm. I was just, you know, on Facebook looking at it and getting off my, and he said 7 words. He said, why don't you just write a book? I don't know how to write a book. He said, well, just go home and start writing. I'm like, all right. So Sam, honest to God truth, I came home June 6, 2016, right here on this computer. I started typing. I typed for 59 days. I started with what I told you from the 1st grade up until 2000 and at that time 16. And I typed for 59 days straight. I was writing for about 3-4 hours a day on average, sometimes 6 hours. And when I got done, when I got up to 2016, starting from 1970, I had 1,000 pages. And so now I'm like, what do I do? So you know how you on a computer, you scrolling. I didn't know what to do at that point. So I called a friend, and I said, I think I got a book. I got like 1,000-page book. She's like, are you crazy? Nobody's going to nobody's going to read a 1,000-page book. I'm like, so what do I do? He said, you got to break it up into 4 books. I'm like, how, you know? So I'm searching. Well, going back to 1996 when I was a recruiter, this little kid walked into my office. He was 18. He said, I want to be a Navy SEAL. I was like, dude, you're too small. You know, I'm like, whatever. I'm like, let's try it. Okay, do the paperwork. Let me get your height and weight. So I measured him. And he wound up having a skin disease, so he couldn't join the Navy, right? Mm. So in 96, I left Cleveland and went to Virginia. Didn't see this kid, didn't hear from him. So now moving back up to 2016, Actually, yeah, I was watching this documentary on Navy SEALs because I got a few friends that are Navy SEALs, and I saw this kid run across the screen, and I rewound it, and I was like, man, that looked like the kid I was recruiting in 1996. So this is 20 years prior to, right? This is 20 years later, and I rewound it and I stopped it, and he was looking like this, and I saw his name. It said Jeff Boss. Now that was the same kid that asked me to be a Navy SEAL in 1996.
Wow.
And so I was like, wait a minute, did he make it? So I'm like, let me look him up. So I look him up, Jeff Boss. Sure enough, he was a Navy SEAL. He was part of SEAL Team 6. He got shot up and injured and killed people and did all this stuff. And he wrote a book. So I found him on Facebook. I was like, Jeff, you might not remember me, man. I was 27 when you met. You were 18. He said, yeah, I remember you. You told me I'd never be a Navy SEAL. And I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry, bro. I said, look, I'm calling you because you wrote a book, and I wrote a book. How did you do it? So he guided me to get an editor and taught me how to do the book cover and all this stuff. And that's how it all came to fruition. So the following year, 2017, from 16 to 17, I had another editor. I had 2 editors, and he got my book done in 2017, and then I published it in 2018. So my first book, now back to the 1,000 pages, 4 months after she told me to break the 1,000 pages down to 4 books, I finally realized how to do it. I just did my career, my book in every 10 years of my career. From ages 5 to 18 is my first book, Broken. From 18 to 28 is my second book. From 28 to 38.
That's cool.
So I broke it all down because I already had the content. I already wrote about it. And so now, April 2018, I published Broken, and I'm done with my second book. It's in the editing stages now. And then in between that, I did an ebook on keeping kids safe from porn. So the guy that taught me how to write was my second editor, William Greenleaf. He's in New Mexico, white guy that does strictly sci-fi. Been writing.
Oh wait, he's where?
He's in New Mexico.
Hey, that's where I'm at.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
world.
that.
Yeah, small world. What
Yeah.
part? What part?
I don't know. So what happened was
That's interesting.
Yeah, right. I read this book called On Writing.
Oh, what's going on?
Get me to think about writing. And so I read the book by Stephen King called On Writing. And at the end, he thanked his editor. So I looked his editor up. I'm like, maybe I could get Stephen King's editor. But anyway, a name up under that popped up, William Greenleaf, and I clicked on it. White guy, married, 60-some years old, been writing since 1980, wrote 20 sci-fi books. I said, let me give him a call. I called him, cold called him, and I said, look, I'm from the inner city. I got a book called Broken. I don't know. I said, we probably don't have anything in common. He said, no, send it to me. So I sent him my manuscript. I emailed it to him, and he said, Leon, about a week, 2 weeks later, he said, your book has worldwide appeal. I'm going to teach you how to write. Because in writing is show, not tell. I was just telling my story.
Yeah.
But he taught me to show my story, develop dialogue, develop characters, go from one scene to the next. And that's how it happens. So I tell people, never been a racist. I don't believe in being a racist. You know, you can learn from anybody. But William Greenleaf is a sci-fi author of 20 books. Here I am, a broken guy from the inner city of Cleveland, but he taught me how to write, you know. So that's how it came out. And now, you know, I'm writing 3, 4 more other books. I'm writing 2 other biographies about 2 other people that have like a life kind of similar to mine. And so I became an author at 50 years old. Never wanted to be an author. Never liked writing. I hated reading. And here I am loving reading now in my 50s, you know. So I tell people, don't just concentrate on or do one thing in life. Our parents make us do one thing because Uncle Jimmy was a mechanic or Aunt Susie was a nurse. We make our kids focused on that one thing. My parents allowed me to be a free thinker. So that's why things come to me and I'm like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Okay, let me sit down and think about it. And that's how I became an author. So now I'm an author. I speak, I travel. It's not even about selling my books. That happens naturally. But I tell my story to help inspire other people. I tell my story to save people's life. I tell my story so that they can see that they can overcome the addictions or get through the roadblocks or rebuild their confidence or self-esteem. That's why I tell my story. I tell my story because I scored the minimum. I've always scored the minimum in elementary school, junior high school, and high school. I never felt smart. But I tell people because I scored a 31, I did the ultimate in the military, as far as you can go. Yeah. And I did I did every hard job in the military. Was I scared? Hell yeah, I was scared. I was terrified to go be a drill sergeant, to be an instructor, to be a recruiter. A recruiter, you got to sell the Navy. You got to influence people to join the military or like your product. That was hard. So I had to dig down in my soul. Once it clicked. That was it. I can do anything now. Anything.
Yeah. And you're right. You have to be multidimensional and you can't be afraid to start. Those are the two major things, you know what I mean? And man, could you imagine if, Elon Musk didn't start his shit, or, LeBron never picked up a basketball, you know what I mean? Like, it's like these things that people see as a way to just get money. It's not even about that. It's like, that was their
Destiny, maybe.
salvation. Like that's the thing that has always gotten them through. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like you said, like at first you wanted, you wanted the money and you wanted the women, you wanted all that stuff. After a while, you started to really just find a passion for continuing to just learn and be better and like start to improve on who you were. You know what I mean? And like all that stuff just sort of fell in place. Like all the awards and all that other stuff just fell in place. If you just like keep wanting to be progressively better.
It fell in place, Sam.
Yeah. Like
it fell in place.
Like it wasn't the sole intention of, I'm going to get this reward, I'm going to get this award, I'm going to get it was like, no, I'm going to be better and I'm going to show this person that I don't fit the paradigm of what they're trying to see, and I know for my own personal self I can do better, and I have these own limits that I can reach and see past, and all these challenges I can, and I'm the same way. Like I'm always like scared about and when you're scared about the next decision, that's a good thing, like when you're actually like, it shows that you're doing things that are making you uncomfortable, and you'll know whether or not it's working for you. But if you're sitting there just making the same old decisions and the same old like, oh, I'm comfortable, I'm fine, eventually you're going to look at your life and you're going to look back and you're going to kind of see like, man, I could have done so much more. And that's
so much more and so much better.
Yeah. That's when
that's my fear. That's the only fear that I have is like, what am I leaving unturned? I don't want the potential spirits to come to my bedside or my grave when I'm dying and say, dude, you could have wrote 10 books, but you stopped at 5. You could have inspired 30 million, but you stopped at 5 million, Leon. Well, I don't want that. And I believe in potential spirits. I believe in spirits. I believe in God. I believe in hereafter, all that type of stuff. So I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I don't want to leave any person, any child, untouched, so that's why I'm so passionate about every single day. I never get tired. I get rest at night. I get up the next day. I'm like, man, what am I going to do today? Who am I going to talk to today? And then knowing I'm going to talk to you, I'm like, yeah, I woke up this morning, I'm like, yeah, me and Sam going to get it in today. We're going to talk. So my thing is, I don't want the potential spirits to come to my bedside and say, hey, bro, you didn't do this. I don't want that.
Yeah. And David Meltzer talks about that too. And he talks about like, whenever you finally meet like your future self, like, or whenever you're seeing yourself at the end, you want to be able to recognize that person, or you want to be able to not recognize that person. And you want it to be a totally different person. And you want to be able to know that the person that you're seeing now in the future is like the one that, oh my goodness, this is everything that I always saw I could be. And if you're like looking into the future and you're just seeing the same person, it means you're not doing shit. You're not doing anything to grow. And
it's ultimately to other people too.
Yeah, like exactly. And so all right, so my final questions, because we're hitting the hour mark right now. It's been an insanely good conversation, man. And I appreciate you like talking about everything that you've been through and stuff. But what would you say, with everything that you've kind of gone through, and I always talk to people who are struggling with things, but what would you say is primarily the main thing that a lot of people struggle with that come to you? And I mean, what sort of advice do you give those people? Because the people that I try to target are just people who haven't necessarily found who they are. So they're very confused and they're kind of going in all different directions. And that can be beneficial, but it can also lead you down a very like driven path you're gonna have to dig yourself really out of. So what's been like one of the main struggles that you've heard or spoken with people, and what kind of advice do you give them?
People always ask me, Master Chief or Leon, you're 54. How do you stay motivated? I tell them, I say, look, man, I remember that broken kid, and he can come back. I remember that kid that was addicted to porn and sex, and the kid that became verbally abusive and the cheating and deceiving. Those things wore me down. For so long, I blocked it out. I was just plowing through the military, plowing through. I was having fun and partying and drinking and smoking, but it was killing me. I had a heart attack. We'll talk about that another time. And it was just killing me. It wore me down. And I'm like, I'm successful in the Navy, but my health is degrading. And I said, I'm tired of this. So I knew how to be successful. I knew I had work ethic. I knew I could be creative. I knew I had a vision. I knew I had my own blueprint. I enjoy life. I love life. But I was dying on the inside, bro. And I was just like losing steam, like, man, what is going on? But I had a lot of demons. And so once I started getting rid of one demon, 2 demons, 3 demons, 4 demons, I started feeling lighter and lighter. So even though I was motivated and successful with all these demons, when I started shaking these demons, I became even more motivated and more happy. And so I said, man, I started having my conversations with God and conversations with myself. I'm like, what else can I do? And that's the whole story. What else can I do? What else can I do? I served 32 years. I was a teacher. I was an instructor. I led, thousands of students, hundreds and thousands of sailors. Now I'm writing books. Now I'm speaking. What else? Because I'm experiencing these different thoughts and these different things that they're coming from God, coming from the universe, coming from other people. All these good things. I'm like, So I tell people, said, look, bro, you up here crying, your girlfriend left you. I get it. I had a girlfriend left me too. I got divorced. You divorced. I get it. I'm paying child support. I pay child. I get it. I'm doing all of those things. But you can't stop living. You can't stop living. So I would ask people, I said, bet, you're a race car driver. Your girlfriend left you for the other race car driver. You crashed your car. You started drinking. All right. You were once successful, weren't you? Yeah. What else can you do? Instead of coming to me, you're going to talk like brothers. I love you. You're going to cry. You're going to put your head down. You're going to roll over in bed at night. You're going to wake up thinking about your ex or whatever. But come on, man. It's more out there for you to do. What else can you do? And they'll go, never thought about that. You know what, man? I want to be a physical trainer. Or I want to learn how to box. Or I want to get into UFC. Or I want to be a Boy Scout troop pack leader. Because I was a Boy Scout when I was 8 and I lost it. I never became an Eagle Scout. I want to join the military. I want to drive. Think outside the box. Mm-hmm. I tell people, think inside the box first, because inside is your genetics, your DNA. I want to know what I was all about, what my parents gave me, what my grandparents gave my parents. But I found out that it was work ethic, Sam. It wasn't about, none of them was smart. Nobody in my family had a degree until my sister finally got hers. My parents, like I said, they dropped out in the 10th grade. My grandparents dropped out probably in the 7th, 8th grade. But my grandfather was building drums with his bare hands. My grandmother was a janitor for 30 years. Work. My father worked at Ford for 34 years. My mother used to run bars, and that's where she gave me my first job when I was 8 to clean up a bar. So I'm like, bro, you think if you want to stop and give up because you've been divorced, you're paying child support, you've been broke, you had a heart attack, your girlfriend left you, you lost your job, what are you going to do, give up and die? That's a sin too. You told me, I tell it to people, you said you believe in God, right? Yeah, I do. Okay, let's get up off your feet, bro. Let's go. Let's find some passion. Let's find something that you like to do. Mm-hmm. What's your purpose? I don't know. Let's sit here and think about it. And I asked them those words, what else can you do? Just like the guy asked me, why don't you just write a book? It brought me on my heels. So I always ask people, what else can you do? And it make them think. It makes them think. Everybody, saying like you, what else can you do? You got a podcast, you got a good show going on. Who else can you interview next? Can you interview a blind person? Can you interview an autistic child? Mm-hmm. Can you interview, because autistic children are very, 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 very intelligent. They may get on your show and say, hey, Sam, I learned how to play 3 instruments in 2 days. With me, that's like, what? I don't even know how to play 1 instrument. So my thing to you, just like anybody, Sam, what else can you do? Can you take your podcast from 20,000 followers to 150,000 followers? And what can you, how do you do that? I don't know, but it's something to search for, something to look at, because you're passionate about life just like I am. What other type of person can you interview, Sam? Can you interview a gay female that was in the military for 15 years? Oh, yeah, spooky. I don't know, you know?
Might take some searching.
I got people, I know people, I got people that'll do that for you. But the thing is, you know me, I know you, so it's like, well, you sitting at home, well, let me call Leon, let me ask him, who should I interview? Should I interview a guy that was in the military that was a racist against black people, now he's married to a black woman? All kind of just different ideas, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Inside the box first, what do I have in here? My genetics, my DNA. And I know it's always been serious work ethic. But I had a very addictive personality, and I had a very extreme personality from my father. I got my addictive personality from my mother. So I use that in the wrong ways. Cursing people out, drinking, smoking, cheating, deceiving, lying, stealing. When I changed my focus to using that addictive and extreme personality being successful, I blew up. So I always ask people, what's in your DNA? What else can you do?
Yeah, I like that. And that's the basis of the podcast too, is the PRA is for potential, reach, and aggression. Like, you know, unlock your potential, figure out how far you need to reach, and use relentless aggression to get there. And it's all based on progression, which is, I just to play on words, you know, but I agree. Like, and people, it's easy to get caught inside your little box and think that what you've done is good enough and that's it. And then people also think that just because something bad happens after the fact that life is over, when in fact, you know, life is peaks and valleys. And I actually wrote a book too. And that's what my book is on. It's like about cycles and stuff. And it's just about you. Nothing's ever permanent, you know, like even though something is terrible and it's happening right at this moment, like it's just a phase. It's right now. And how you react to it right now in this situation is going to
stay in it. Yeah, you can live in it.
Exactly.
You can waddle, you can complain, or you can come out of it, you know?
Exactly. And it goes back to like how we're talking about like that growth and fixed mindset. Like that's when you need to be able to identify when you're being fixed and being able to say like, look, I'm being very fixed as to how I'm thinking about this. And I need to be a little bit more open-minded and see the growth in this and see the opportunity. Because that shifts everything when you can stop and you can do that. Yeah. Real quick, the last, I know you said if you have a little bit of time, I'm perfectly okay with talking about the heart attack thing. I wanted to talk about that because my dad actually had a heart attack earlier this year, and we almost lost him. But ever since, and his thing was like, I think he had a stent for a while as well. Or I don't know, he might still, but he had like something in his heart where it like formed its own vein or whatever, and it was able to pump blood through a different newly formed like vein or some weird shit that he was explaining to me. And it's supposed to be very rare. So ever since then, he's like been extremely driven, and I'm actually really proud of him because, you know, he's been going to the gym. He doesn't drink anymore. He does not doing no drugs. He's not smoking. He just got engaged. Like,
wow.
And so like, I'm just really proud of him. And so like, I really felt that because I saw a post that you had posted about your heart attack and all that. And it really just, it resonated with me because my dad's he's your age too. So it's just kind of like, or he's like a little bit younger, but he's like around your age too. And he's older. And so it's just like in those moments, you go through, I can just imagine you go through so many different epiphanies, you know, and the fact that you're still here, it's just like, it's insane. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. And then I'll ask you my last question.
So it's crazy, man. It's a crazy story. So in July of 2013, I was working out with a friend. He's a medical guy. He's in the Navy. And I was like, bro, my chest hurt. He's like, here, give me a bottle of water, right on it. I thought that I felt better. I didn't. That was in July. In August, we still working out, and I'm like, dude, my chest hurting just like it was last month. He said, oh, you said that crap last month. Here's some more water. I drank the water. So I tell people, had I not had this certain shirt at work today, I would have died. So I left the gym, and I'm on base, and I'm driving. I'm like, man, this is not right. So I park my car, and I'm going up to work now. I walk into the building, and I had on my PT uniform, my physical fitness stuff. And so I looked in my locker for this certain blue shirt that goes with the uniform. I didn't have it. And I'm like, I'll either go all the way home, which is 40 minutes, or I can drive 10 minutes to the store on base and buy a new shirt. So I said, okay, let me go. Let me put my clothes back on, get in my truck, and drive to the store, the Navy Exchange on base. So as I was driving to the store, I pulled over and said, let me go try to jog a little bit to see if I can open, whatever. And because I saw the Navy SEALs, these kids were in Navy prep school on base. I said, I'm going to go jog with them. So I sat in my car and laid back, and I started sweating like, bang. I'm like, nah, I can't. I don't feel like running. It just looks. I run a lot, and that day I'm looking at the Navy SEAL kids running. I said, damn, that look painful. For some reason, it didn't resonate with me. So I get back in my truck. I drive to the doctor's office on base. I park my truck. I get out and I walk about maybe 75 yards to the doctor's office, and I get there to the front desk, and the young man says, Master Chief, why are you sweating so much? I said, I just worked out, man, but my chest hurt. He's like, oh, no, come on back. So they take me, skip on all the other people that are waiting in line. They take me in the back, and they do EKG, and the lieutenant came out and said, hey, Master Chief, you just had a heart attack, bro. I'm like, what? And I'm landing like, what? He said, how did you get here? I said, I walked. He said, you walked? I said, yeah. He said, you probably had a heart attack an hour ago. He said, we got to get you to the hospital now. Yeah. He said, we got to get you to the hospital now. So they put me in an ambulance, took me to the hospital, and that was at 7/27, August 13, 2013. I woke up that morning like 11 o'clock, and my room was full of all my sailors, all my friends, and I was like, wow, what happened? Well, the only thing I remember is that the doctor was looking down at me, and he said, your days of smoking and eating bad are over with. And next thing I know, I was up. So my arteries were 80% clogged. I had a stent. I had 2 stents. Yeah. And so I was in rehab from September of 2013 to January 2014, 3-4 days a week, walking. He said, there's no more running for you ever right now. And I'm like, Jesus. So I'm walking. They changed my diet. I was taking 10 pills a day. I didn't want to have sex. It made me angry. It made me bitter. I couldn't sleep. It was horrible, bro. And so I go through therapy. And then one day, January 2014, I go to therapy, and this older guy named Jim, he's like, Leon, all I see you do is walk. He said, you know what? You only walk because that's what they told you need to do. He said, I understand, listen to the doctors, but you just come in here and you just get lazy. I'm 90. I had a heart attack 50 years ago. What are you doing here? You're only 48 years old. And I was like, and that hit me hard. So I was like, he pumped me up. So the next day I came back to therapy, and I started running on the treadmill. I had on this heart monitor, and it was like 6.0. I was running. 1 hour went by, 2 hours went by, and the alarm started going off in the hospital. Cold blue. And the nurse was like, Leon, what are you doing? Get off of that. Because for the 2 hours, they didn't pay no attention to me because I was in the back corner on the treadmill, and I had run a half a marathon before they noticed it. They made me get off, and it's like, look at your heart rate. My heart rate is up to 193, and it should be over 153 with 2 stents at the time.
Oh, jeez.
And Leon, get off of there. They were pissed, but I knew then. I said, you know what? I've been walking for almost 6 months because y'all told me just to walk. I know I took a risk. I'm not telling anybody to do that, but I'm like, let me see if I can run. And I probably could have got out of rehab at 3 months, 4 months, but I don't want a chance because it's my heart,
Yeah.
And so that day, that was it. I ran 13 miles, and I went back to see my doctor, and they did a stress test on my heart, and he was like, you good. I never went back to rehab. They took me off the pills. I'm down to like 2 pills a day now. And I changed my diet, my appetite. I eat jacked up food every now and then. I go back and forth, but not like I used to, because he said the only reason why you didn't die is because you work out. With your arteries being 80% clogged, you're like an old man on the inside. He said, had you not been working out, you'd have died 15 minutes ago. Which I would have never made it to the hospital because I walked, and they said 15 more minutes, you'd have been gone, bro. So he said that the reason why you were able to walk to the hospital while you were having a heart attack is because you're in decent shape. Not good shape, you're in decent shape. He said 15 more minutes, you'd have been gone.
Jeez. And that's why it's so important to focus on things like what we're talking about, positive habit loop, stuff like that, because it's all preventative healthcare as well. Yeah. Like it's all preventative. The better you think, the better you act, the better your decisions, the better you eat, the better your relationships are, the better your life becomes, the more healthy you become. It's all like a trickling of how you start with your thoughts, how you start with the way that you think about things. And people just get caught up in the wrong things, and it's really easy to be influenced by other people around you, especially if you're always surrounded by that environment. But the one advantage that we have now that I'm sure you didn't experience, like, even, well, I didn't even experience it, like, the first maybe 6-7 years I was alive, but all the technology, it gives us all of the information we need, whether positive or negative. You just got to know what to search. You have to know what's helping you and what's not. It all comes down to self-awareness and what you need to be doing and your intentions behind it. But we do have an advantage with that in what we can be able to extract and not allow our environment to kind of seep in, and then take over. But I appreciate you coming on, man. My last question for you, I always ask this to everybody, is what is your idea of success, and what advice can you give to somebody who hasn't found it yet?
My idea of success is being successful and giving to other people and helping them become successful, giving the blueprint back. I've always had to develop my own blueprint because I got tired of asking other people for help. I said, let me develop my own blueprint and make sure it's successful, and then give it to other people. And I have to ask anybody or rely on anybody for anything. But I would tell people to always search for different things in life, want to become better every single day, whether it's learning a different word or maybe even, a different religion, Buddha, Wiccan, whatever you want to do. Always grow your mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Surround yourself with good people, good, solid people. Be aware of those negative people. Be aware of those people that are lazy, that don't want to do anything. Be aware of those, because those people you don't want to be. But I tell people, don't focus on one thing in life, because our parents, like I said earlier, our parents make us go down this road of being a nurse because Aunt Susie was a nurse or Uncle Jim was a doctor, whatever. And I know some doctors, dentists, and lawyers that are very unhappy, bro. A lot of money, but very unhappy, low morale. So my parents, like I mentioned earlier, my parents allowed me to be a free thinker. And with that, I was able to receive different ideas and receive different thoughts. I was never like combative or like, that don't sound good, I'm scared of that. I was scared of a lot of things. But that fear is what, like you said earlier, when you have fear, you need to like it. Fear is a good thing. You go towards that. When you see something and you fear it, when your heart starts to pump, you start to sweat, you get nervous. That's not fear. That's an opportunity. Opportunity to grow, to be somebody different that you are right now. I want to change every single day, Sam. Every single day. So I tell people that, it's not about just, you got to be challenged, you got to be driven and passionate. Yeah. Well, but how do you do that? I tell people, sit down and think about your life, your lifestyle, where you were, where you want to go, where you come from, and how are you doing right now? What are you missing out on? Where you lack. A lot of people lacking a lot of things because they're scared. Like you said, all you have to do is start. I never wanted to be an author, Sam. I hated books. And I got a whole bunch of books right here that I read. I love learning. So be open-minded. Be very approachable. Have your own vision. Have a vision. Search for things. Want to be a creator. Create something. Got all these people creating stuff in life, and it's not about money, but you get the money, but you want to help people. But be a creator, have your own vision, and love life, man. Have fun. Stop surrounding yourself with people that always eating bad food, always drinking, always smoking, because that's what you're gonna do. That's what you're gonna become. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be hard to be a mechanical engineer, but you might be a great mechanical engineer. It might be hard to lead an orchestra. It might be hard to win a rodeo. It might be hard to be a cheerleader, but that might be just who you might want to be one day. You never know. All you gotta do is try.
Yep.
Start. So that's my message to those people, man.
All right, man. No, dude, it was a good interview, and I appreciate you. I appreciate everything. Lastly, I want to be able to have everybody follow you. So what platforms are best, and what are you on? What are you checking? How can they get a hold of you, and how can we get the book?
So I'm on Instagram as Leon R. Walker. I'm on Facebook as Leon R. Walker. My YouTube channel is being worked on now. Everything is Leon R. Walker. They can Google me, Leon R. Walker. My website, I just took it down. I have a new publicist and a lady that's got her own marketing company. That's a big difference for me, bro. We'll have another conversation about that. But My website is iinspire1, one.com, iinspire1. And it'll be back up. It's down for maintenance now. They can get the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google, anywhere that they distribute books. So it's everywhere. My second book, my next ebook will be out November 15th. It's a short, sweet, easy to read, 50-page ebook about keeping kids safe from porn. My second book about the next 10 years of my career is coming out probably February, March. And that one's going to be my first book is dark. My second book is dark because it talks about everything I went through as a child started coming to fruition as I got older. You know,
yeah.
Instead of fighting it off, I welcomed all those demons, and I'm like, yeah. Because in the military, the more you drink, the more popular you are. The more women you have, the more popular you have. That's how it used to be, but they cleaned up the image a lot. So I fell right into that, man. But yeah, that's how you can reach me: Instagram, Facebook, Leon R. Walker, and my YouTube and Google.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll put those in the show notes as well. So anybody listening, you can go directly to the bio of this and the description, and they can click on any one of these and go directly to you. So, so yeah, man, no, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Your story, man, it's going to resonate with so many people, and I'm really excited. This will be out like this next coming Friday. So it'll be out this next week. So, yeah, I'm pumped. And I thank you, man, for sharing your story. I thank you for your service, all that. I could not, I'm super grateful that you were able to take the time out, and I'm glad we're able to finally do this.
Yes, and anytime, bro, you reach out, man. Even if you have questions about anything, man.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to you too about the ebooks as well, because you were giving me some tips on that a little bit ago as well. So yeah, I'll definitely be in touch. I'll stay in touch, and we'll get on another interview here in the future too, if anything. And especially with your books, I want to keep in contact with you and, you know, do interviews for the books, do some promos for that too, if we can, so we can get the message out. You know, we got to help people create those positive habit loops for themselves, you know, and really find out who they are.
And I'm a giver, man. I don't call myself a motivational speaker. I call myself a messenger. So I'm a giver. I like to help people, man.
I love that. I love that. Well, yeah, man, you have a great rest of your day. It was a pleasure. And I'll be in touch with you, and I'll let you know too whenever I'm going to be putting this up and posting and all that stuff too. So
all right. Have a great day, Sam. Enjoy your weekend, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, bro.
Oh yeah, man. You have a good one.
All right, bro. Bye.